Hey friends, it's just the gems. The eagle-eyed viewer might have noticed that something's a little different. That something is everything around me. In case you're not aware, I live in Illinois and we just went through a pretty nasty tornado situation in my hometown. Fortunately, we didn't have any damage. We're fine. Everybody's healthy, everybody's safe, but we're completely without power and will be for we don't know how long. Potentially at the least the rest of the week. And so that means that if I want to present anything to you all, I have to do it somewhere else. So I'm like tucked into a closet here in my office. You can see it's a disaster because this wasn't intending to be shooting a video here ever, but here we are. Anyway, all that out of the way. I'm here today because I want to talk a little bit about Blue Reflection Quartet. So Koei Tecmo was kind enough to send me over the key to be able to check it out. I have personally experienced Blue Reflection and Blue Reflection Second Light. What's new to me is the game form of Blue Reflection Ray. I did watch the anime in its entirety when that came out, but the game form of Blue Reflection Ray and then Blue Reflection Sun. Now, because of the aforementioned tornadoes and power outage, I have really only been able to get through my second playthrough, basically, of Blue Reflection. I played it back on the PlayStation 4 when it originally came out, and I've played through it again now on Steam in the Quartet version. So what I wanted to do was go through these games and give them all at least a little bit of attention, rather than, doing one video taking care of everything all at once, like I'm sure most people would do, and I would honestly do if I had the ability to. I'm going to break this up into some shorter videos and kind of give you my impressions, let you know whether I think that each individual component of the quartet is worth your time. So beginning with the original Blue Reflection. I said it before in my original review of Blue Reflection, which I will link in the description in case you want to see more detail, since this is what we're talking about, Blue Reflection. This is a game that is driven by vibes. It is a beautiful, atmospheric, thoughtful, contemplative sort of game. This is a small story, to be clear, right? This is a story about a bunch of girls at an all-girls high school. 3 of them happen to be able to turn into magical girl superheroes and fight horrific demonic entities called Sephira, but they are otherwise normal high school girls. And so you're going to see a lot of the sorts of tropes and storylines that you might expect to see in like an anime high school drama. If that's not your thing, I totally get it, but I would still encourage you to give this a chance, because Blue Reflection sort of takes those tropes that typical high school experience and subverts them by putting you in a pretty unique situation as the main character. So you play as Hinako. You are a ballerina, like you were probably on your way to becoming a pro ballerina, and you've suffered an injury. You're no longer able to dance. And so you find yourself attending a new school and having to make new friends and establish a life for yourself when you already had your sights set on this one direction you were going to go. You've hit a detour. You have no choice but to go a different direction. So it goes in a pretty bad space when she starts the game. And that's one of the things I like the most about her character. As a main character, she's so interesting to me because she is kind of, I wouldn't say toxic. She's not toxic. She's very realistic in how she views things. She's sort of the anti-protagonist. Like you would expect the protagonist of this sort of story in this sort of setting to be very positive, let's go get him, optimistic, maybe even happy-go-lucky. Hinako is none of those things. She is kind of sarcastic and has a short temper and just doesn't have time for anybody's nonsense. And this is a school full of teenage girls, of course. These are a bunch of kids. There's quite a lot of nonsense that she has to put up with. And she is just not here for it because she has had a taste of what, adulthood was going to be for her, and she's had that ripped away from her. So she's coming in kind of bitter, but seeing her growth throughout the story is really cool. Like she has a very real feeling and natural progression to her character as she goes through the story. And that is helped in large part by the fact that she is a reflector. So the reflectors are, like I alluded to, magical girls basically that fight these horrific creatures called the Seth. Well, let me take a step back. The actual combat gameplay portions of Blue Reflection take place in an other world called the Common. It's sort of the physical manifestation of the collective unconscious that everyone shares. And when people experience elevated emotions, these are manifest in the common. And the reflectors, Hinako and her partners, Lime and Yuzu, very citrusy themed party, have to go into the common and set things right for all of their classmates. And there's complicated reasons why that go deeper into the lore, which I won't get into here, and I think are maybe explored a little bit further in the subsequent entries in this quartet. But there's a lot of lore behind like the reflectors and what they're doing. And one of the cool things about this game is it just kind of drops you in the perspective of Hinako into this situation, and characters like Lime and Yuzu know a whole lot more about what's going on here than you do as the player, and Hinako as the person in the position she's in. So there's a whole lot of information that is yet to be disclosed, even by the end of Blue Reflection. There's still a lot that you as the player won't know, but it's teased in such a way that it's pretty clear that there are answers to these questions, and you'll see those as you progress throughout the games, I'm sure. Combat is almost, I want to say, Grandia-esque, if you're familiar with Grandia, where you and your opponents are on a sort of opposing timeline, and there's an action point on the timeline, and as soon as a character reaches that action point, they're able to take action. One of the things that made Grandia unique, and one of the elements that Blue Reflection borrows, is the idea of being able to knock your opponents back on the timeline. So certain attacks that you do will have a knockback effect. So you can manage the timeline by using different sorts of attacks to keep your opponents from being able to attack you. So there's a decent bit of strategy that goes into it. Otherwise, it's a fairly standard turn-based sort of experience. And it falls into, I would say, the sort of trap that unfortunately a lot of turn-based games fall into, which is once you discover as the player a viable strategy for winning most battles, that's kind of all you need to do to win most battles, right? Like, I know that by the end of the game, I got into a pattern of using the same attacks for each of the girls because they were the most powerful, and your HP and MP are restored fully after every battle, so there's no real need to conserve. You can kind of go all out at the beginning of every fight, which is great if you're trying to make your way through the game, right? But it sort of diminishes the strategy a little bit. And like I said, this is a problem that I see in a lot of turn-based. I love turn-based RPGs, don't get me wrong. Love them. They're probably my favorite genre overall. But it's a problem that I see in so many games where it's like, once you've learned the ultimate attack, why would you use anything but the ultimate attack, right? Anyway, so that aside, the gameplay loop is relaxing and fun. I went through and did basically every side quest in this game, even though they are pretty bog standard. Go into the common, defeat X number of this type of enemy, or collect this number of items or whatever. Pretty standard stuff in terms of how they're set up, but it just was relaxing gameplay loop to be able to kick back either at my PC or with my Steam Deck. I played a good bit of this on the Steam Deck as well, especially after the power went out. So being able to just kick back on the couch in the dark because we have no power and just play Blue Reflection and just kind of vibe with it. Now, I mentioned that this game is driven by vibes, and it's so true. Like, there's a beauty, an ethereal beauty to this game. The landscapes of the common are so gorgeous and weird, and even the real world setting, like when you're in the real world, you're basically at the school. You don't really see much else of the real world. And simple things like the way light comes in through a window, man, it's just like it. I don't know how to put it. I think I said before, maybe I said this in my original review, it feels nostalgic, but like I was never a Japanese high school girl. So like, why do I feel nostalgic playing this? I guess you could say it's like high school in general, but like it doesn't mirror any of my actual high school experiences. You know, my high school didn't look like that. None of the things that happened to me in my high school, but the way it's framed, the music, the graphical presentation, the way the light, like I said, the way the light works, it just really feels nostalgic. Anyway, I think if you've played Blue Reflection's Second Light and you for some reason haven't played Blue Reflection, I think that you are going to be much more likely to see the flaws in Blue Reflection. It becomes a harder game to hype up after you've seen Second Light. Second Light is, in my mind, a masterclass in how to iterate on a great idea and turn it from a great idea into a brilliant presentation. Second Light takes everything good about Blue Reflection, makes it so much better. It gets rid of the things that don't work, and it introduces a bunch of new ideas that just make Blue Reflection Second Light one of the coolest turn-based RPGs out there. But it had to start with Blue Reflection, right? This is where the story begins. This is where the idea starts. And so if you're coming into this fresh, I think that you will find a lot to enjoy about Blue Reflection on its own. And then you will find even more enjoyment from Blue Reflection Second Light after you finish Blue Reflection. And then, Ray and Sun in between there as well, which I will get to eventually. But yeah, Blue Reflection, the original, it pales in comparison to the second one. And that sounds negative because it's a negative statement, right? It's not as good as the second game, but I don't think the second game exists without all the work they did in the first game. And if you're coming into it fresh, you're not going to know. When you get to Second Light, you're going to see what I mean, how great it is. But I still, having already played Blue Reflection years back, playing it again now, had a great time revisiting it. So I think if you're coming into it fresh and you can deal with some of the, kind of standardness of a lot of the gameplay elements, if that doesn't bother you, if you are able to just kind of get absorbed into the vibe of everything and enjoy the story and enjoy the weirdness of, what's going on. Like, it's real, interesting dichotomy between this very, standard high school simulator experience and then the weirdness of the common and especially the Sephira. It feels like you're suddenly in a different game, and it's a cool experience. You can, if you're able to settle into that experience and enjoy it, I think you will get a lot of enjoyment out of the original Blue Reflection. Now, as for the rest of the content, I'm moving on to Ray next. Like I said, I watched the anime in its entirety, but I'm curious to see how they've adapted it here. I know it's not, from what I understand, it's not a game in the same sense that Blue Reflection and Second Light and even and Sun. It's different than that. The evidence I have for that is the difficulty settings in the menu for Blue Reflection Quartet. You can change the difficulty for Blue Reflection, Sun, and Second Light, but not for Ray. So if there's no difficulty options, I'm guessing that there's not really gameplay in that sense. So there's something else happening there. So I'll be really curious to see what that is, and I will post a video as soon as I know. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you found this interesting or useful. And be sure to also, if you're curious for more information, check out my full review of the original Blue Reflection, which I'm linking down in the description. Anyway, until next time, bye-bye.